Hello and welcome to Outlook On Air. This podcast is designed to keep you connected with all things Outlook, with special emphasis on our enrichment program and its many activities and services. On this podcast, we'll hear from Outlook associates, donors to our many programs, clients of our services, and much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this edition of Outlook On Air. Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of Outlook On Air. I'm your host, Dennis Nelson, once again here in the palatial podcast studios at Outlook Enrichment, and this is such a busy month. We're going to do something a little different this time around. We're going to present you with two podcasts this month, so watch for a later one later on during this month of October that these podcasts are going to be presented in. For this particular podcast, we have a great podcast planned for you with two wonderful folks, Julia Lockett, along with her boss, Teresa Selden. Why don't both of you take a moment to introduce yourselves to us?
Okay, so I'll go first. I'm Julia Lockett. I work with Union Pacific Railroad in the finance department as an accounting specialist. I've been working with the company for 22 years. This Saturday, it'll be 22 years.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yes,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is absolutely wonderful. We can start with that. And Teresa, do you want to introduce yourself and what your role is, that sort of thing?
Sure. My name is Teresa Selden. I have been with Union Pacific for 13 years. I work in the finance accounts payable team with Julia and a few others, and excited for this opportunity to talk about Julia.
We're excited to have both of you here. Julia, we're going to start with you, and I just wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your background, which you started to do, and how you became connected with Outlook Enrichment.
Okay. Well, so my background, prior to coming to Union Pacific, I worked in various other jobs where my previous job, Avaya, I gained different levels of education up to master's and leadership. And so then coming to Union Pacific, I, kind of was able to use those skills in some of the different roles that I worked. And so the way that I got connected with Outlook is I had been watching a news program one Saturday morning, and they were talking about a vision expo. And I had recently gone through some issues with the being diagnosed with glaucoma. When I heard about the Vision Expo, it said, well, call this number to get more information. It was a Saturday morning, and I called that number, and somebody actually answered and gave me so much advice and information about the Vision Expo that when I did attend it, there was a lot of information that was given out. And so I kept the information about Outlook in the back of my mind. But at the time, I was married, and my husband was available to help me with a lot of things. So I didn't really seek out Outlook at the time. But then maybe less than a year after going to the expo, he passed away. And remembering Outlook, I reached back out to Outlook for some help in tech training. I wasn't good at using my cell phone, my iPad. I didn't know. I wasn't good at JAWS. I could use Zoom text, but I wasn't good at JAWS. So a lot of that help I got. My trainer, Doug Wampler, taught me a lot. And just over the phone, he taught me a lot because it was during COVID, so there were a lot of in-person meetings. So he taught me a lot over the phone, and I think I'm pretty good at it now, but I could use some more training.
Couldn't we all? Not to worry.
Yeah.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you did face as you began losing your vision? That had to be a big adjustment for you.
Well, as I began losing my vision, I was convinced that I just needed new glasses. So I was I was completely in denial, and that really didn't serve me well because I wasn't reaching out for resources. I wasn't trying to find out how I could I wasn't like, going to the eye doctor like I should. I wasn't, I just knew that this was something that would pass. And so my biggest challenge was myself in the way, and not trying to figure out what was going on.
Sure. That's a big challenge in and of itself. Were there any services or programs here at Outlook that maybe made a big difference or impact for you?
Well, so one thing that with Outlook that really helped me is the support group that we meet like every Tuesday evening. And when I first got in the group, I was really, at a bad point in my life. I was just so sad and broken and everything. And there's days that, we would talk about, vision issues, or there's other days that we would just really support a person in the group that was dealing with an issue, or, celebrate them when they have achieved something. And so being in the support group really helped me with things like I was positive that I would never take an Uber. I just knew I wasn't going to do that. And one of the people in the group had said, she kept talking about her Uber rides, and she just made it sound like it was so simple to do. So I just got on the app and worked at it, and when I took my first ride, it was probably the worst ride I ever had, because the guy yelled at me, and he said, "I can't find you," and stuff like that, and it's like, oh my gosh. But as I kept trying and kept on, trial and error, and, taking notes on the bad stuff and the good stuff,
Sure.
I'm a Uber pro now.
Oh, that's awesome. That is great. What an accomplishment. Because it's not always easy. The Uber drivers are not always friendly and the way you'd envision them to be.
Well, one time I actually, it's twice, I rode with a deaf Uber driver.
Oh.
And so it was so difficult to communicate. So the first time I rode with the deaf driver, I was terrified, because I was like, well, I'm not going to know. How am I going to communicate with him, and how can he communicate with me?
Sure.
So then he got me to work, and he dropped me off in like one of the darkest spots. And I said, well, this is not where I get off at. But I didn't know how to communicate that to him. He wanted me to type him a message in my phone, but I couldn't really even see my phone to do that. So the next time, I thought about that for a while, and the next time I traveled with a deaf driver, I already had my plan in place, and I had a message already prepared to send. So
awesome.
We were able to communicate that way. But, the one thing I noticed is that for every situation that I think I failed in, it was just a learning opportunity for me to be better and, just think of a creative way or a new way to get done what I needed to do.
Wow. Yeah, and I guess that's how we have to deal with life on a daily basis, really. That's very good advice. Speaking of advice, do you have any advice that you'd give to someone who is facing sudden vision loss while still working?
Well, so I would suggest that, when you notice your vision is failing, don't be in denial like I was. Go ahead and get things checked out. Go ahead and reach out. And, my employer did so much to help me with technology that I needed, with programs that I needed. And their first plan for me was not to terminate my employment, that thinking that I wasn't capable.
Mm-hmm.
Their plan was to find out how they can help me to be capable, to do my job just like I always have. And while it wasn't seamless, it, through the years it's worked out great. So I just suggest that, if a person is losing their vision and they are employed, just try to work through with the employer to find ways that the job can work for them and the ways that they can still do their job. And then, organizations like Outlook can provide suggestions and resources as well, and training. that's a key point in maintaining your, abilities by the training.
Tell us a little bit about your day at Union Pacific. What do you do, and what is a typical day like for you there?
Well, typical day. So my desk is the furthest away from the elevator, so I have a long little hustle to my desk, and then I come in, and when I start up my computer, it starts up with Fusion for me. So they've got that set up, so I don't have to. There's no struggle when I first get there, and then just getting started. I sign onto my phone. I answer phone calls. I've been doing this particular job for 16 years, so many of the answers haven't changed. So a lot of things I can do with my eyes closed, but then there's other things that, like answering some questions. The answer won't necessarily change, just maybe the system that you perform the task in, or, some wording may change or something like that, but pretty much the answers are the same. So the job is not difficult, and it's actually enjoyable to come in and help people that, some people are like terrified that they've overspent on the company's money and they might get, terminated or something. And I like to assure them that, there's always a way to fix whatever, has been, they feel that they messed up.
Would you say that your role has changed since you lost your vision?
Well, so my role didn't really change, but some of my duties have changed. So because the world is constantly changing, a lot of my duties are now automated. But I'm still needed because there's a lot of issues that, a person can just call me and that can be handled right away. And rather than, sending in a request, they have, we use a ticket system where they send in their requests, and then we answer those, and I primarily handle those. So it's good for them to just be able to call me. But some of the things, I used to prepare credit card applications. I only occasionally do that when the automation fails, but I used to work all day on applications, and now I don't have to do that. Those are done automatically.
Yeah, and that's probably more a result of automation than anything else, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And automation is just efficiency, so I don't feel bad about it.
Does the company provide you with any kind of special help or accommodations to help you succeed? Do they do anything special?
They actually do. One thing that they do is whenever there's new equipment coming in, like we got new laptops, we got new phones, they make sure that somebody comes in and specifically comes and helps me to make sure that I understand the new equipment. If there's any type of upgrade or any changes that I have questions about, I can always find a person that will specialize and stay with me and help me through whatever questions I have about the upgrade or the change.
Yeah, that's always nice.
And it doesn't seem like there's ever any problem with me receiving that kind of assistance, and so I really appreciate that.
That's awesome. That is wonderful to hear. How did it feel to return to work or continue working after your diagnosis?
Very scary, because I thought that they couldn't use a blind person. And so I didn't think I would have a job much longer.
Oh. Yeah, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to deal with. You never know exactly how that's going to work out, or, and it sounds like in your case, thank goodness, Union Pacific was willing to work with you and make it work, and that's absolutely awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Definitely, yes.
In fact, let's turn to Teresa, who has to help make some of those things happen. And Teresa, when you first learned that Julia was losing her vision, what was your initial reaction to news like that?
My initial reaction was, of course, empathy and a strong desire to support her, as well as recognizing the unique challenges that she faces on a day-to-day basis that people without a vision loss take for granted. It was important for me to set up open communication so that she felt comfortable coming to me and expressing her needs and any concerns that she had. And I regularly remind her, I am committed to ensuring she has the tools she needs to succeed in her role. I believe this, doesn't always just benefit her, but it also benefits our whole team and the dynamics and creates a more positive workplace atmosphere. And that's really important. As much time as we are here day to day, I think that's extremely important.
Sure, I can see where that would be. What resources or partnerships with Outlook have possibly, helped you, and you feel that Outlook has helped to offer you support as an employer as well?
Absolutely. Julia talked a lot about Outlook and all of the benefits that she's gotten through Outlook, which I think are great. It offers a huge support network for her, as well as Union Pacific as an employer. We also have a great internal tech team here that works to make sure that Julia has the equipment she needs. It's all updated and it's working correctly. So we're fortunate with that. And then also Union Pacific, we have an employee resource group called EASE, which stands for Educate, Advocate, Support, Encourage Disability Awareness and Inclusion. And it's just a great asset to the company for all employees that if they have a disability, or if they're caring for somebody with a disability or a family member, or if they're an ally to somebody that has a disability. It's a great support network, and they have all kinds of activities as well as like Outlook does, and just the added support network is very helpful.
Wow, that is just fabulous. What a nice sounding thing. A lot of people could probably use some of those tools and support, and it's so nice that you offer that.
Absolutely. We're very fortunate in that respect.
Do you have any examples of the accommodations or technology that you put into place?
Well, like Julia said, she has JAWS and Zoom text on her computer. So we always are making sure that that's the most recent updated versions that are available for her and that they're working correctly. And actually there is a new upgraded version that just came out yesterday. So we'll have to get that installed on her computer and make sure that it's running smoothly. We also just make sure that the lighting at her desk is optimal, that she can see everything, and if for some reason a bulb is burned out, get that taken care of right away, because that does impact how she does her work, and obviously want to get that taken care of right away. Also, another aspect is when we get new laptops or new computers, and just making sure, again, that the software is loaded correctly, working properly, and thankful for a great internal tech team that assures us that it is.
Boy, that is just fantastic. Is there anything through this whole experience of dealing with Julia and her situation that maybe you wish more employers knew? Anything that you've learned from dealing with this situation that you wish you could tell other employers?
I learned that the importance of fostering a culture of empathy and open communication, support, encouraging all employees to express their needs and experiences, because that can vary from person to person. I believe that this creates a more supportive and collaborative environment, plus it's more positive, and that way challenges are more proactively addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just ensuring that, again, her technology is working appropriately, because that's crucial to her success in her role, and that's ultimately what I want to see, as well as Julia, of course. Julia offers, unique perspectives and problem-solving abilities that we should all embrace as they contribute to a more positive work environment, along with adding to our team. And I stress to Julia and the rest of our team that we are a team. We are all in this together to make Union Pacific better.
Well, that is just fantastic. I love the attitude even from here. I just feel that support coming through the phone line here.
That's exactly what it should be, too.
Oh, that's great. No, it really is. It's very refreshing to hear this kind of thing coming from employers, because so many times it's not that way. And I think that's just awesome. I have just a few final questions for you both. Either one of you can feel free to answer these. What has this journey taught you about resilience, leadership, and the power of community?
One thing that has taught me, a person used to always tell me, Julia, you don't live on an island. They always told me that, and we don't live on this earth by ourselves. There's a level of interconnectedness with all of us. So while my actions will always affect someone else, their actions will affect me as well. And so community is important. My work community sometimes spills over into my personal life, situations. Just like when my work group came out to Outlook to learn more about what happens with Outlook and learn a little bit more about the things that I go through. And we did it through playing games. And while we were playing games, it was still an important lesson. They learned and I learned. So there's, early on when I was losing my vision, it was more scary. I don't mind it so much now because I have skills and abilities, and not being able to see everything is not that big of a deal as it used to be, as it was, 10 years ago.
And that's fantastic. Nothing wrong with progress.
Yeah.
So what's, Julia, this would probably be more for you as well. What's next for you, and how do you see your relationship with Outlook or Union Pacific growing in the years ahead?
Well, so with Union Pacific, anytime I come across a coworker, we're all coworkers in this big, conglomerate of people. Anytime I come across a coworker that just mentions a vision issue or something like that, I encourage them to take care of it and find resources and, even join a support group or something like that. And then with Outlook, I want to do more in, like some of the, like volunteering or something like that. I want to add to the organization that has helped build me up, helped me, when I was not doing so well, when I was weak, they helped to build me up and kind of fortify my life. So I would love to one day give back to Outlook and, just volunteer and, like I crochet a lot. I used to have a crochet business. I would like to teach like a crochet class because I thought that when I lost my vision, I was like, I can't really do this anymore, but I actually can. So I would like to teach people with low vision or blindness how they can crochet or do there's some other crafts that I do too. I'd like to share that.
Awesome. I think that would be a very valuable resource to share right here at Outlook.
That's what I'd like to do.
if time ever permits, right?
Yeah, really.
Any final message that either one of you want to share with our listeners as we kind of wrap things up here? Think of anything?
I guess I would just like to say, by working with Julia, I know that I'm better because of her, and I just want people to know that if you're experiencing vision loss, don't give up. You're not alone. There are lots of resources out there and lots of companies like Union Pacific that are willing to do what it takes so that you can be successful at your job.
Well, I think that is absolutely fantastic, and I can't say enough about how impressed I am at the things that it really sounds like Union Pacific is doing, not only to support Julia, but anyone else who would be there. Is there any possible thought, I guess I would ask you a final question, a thought of how, do you have other people with visual impairments, or is Julia the only one?
It feels like I'm the only one. It really does. I know there a guy worked here long ago. He's retired now, but when it came to like some of the software that I needed, it's like nobody knew. We had to find out, what help I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sure. In this whole big company, I guess I'm the blind one, but it's okay. We're all learning. We're all getting it together. So
I think it's wonderful. Well, I want to thank both of you for taking time out of what I know is a busy day for you. They always are here, and we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and your feelings and all that kind of thing. Really appreciate having both of you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keeping you informed with all things Outlook on air. Outlook on air.
In our last podcast, I did happen to mention at the very beginning of it that we are now doing some cool things with getting our podcast out there to you. And I wanted to just take a few moments to expound a little bit more on that because it is very exciting. We are now available on all the major podcast platforms, and that allows also for a lot of podcast aggregators, which are things that go out and actually get podcasts and get them to you, to be able to pick the podcast up as well. For example, I have an employee here in the building that tells me that he is using Downcast to get our podcasts, which is a podcast aggregator. And it's working very successfully. I think it's pulling it from the Apple podcasts that we are streaming on. So the major ones we're streaming on now are Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And, of course, you can always check us out on our originator of all the podcasting, podbean.com. So just a little more information on podcasting and the fact that we're getting our message out there more than ever. And, of course, the nice thing for some of you as well is that this also allows you to use your smart speakers. In the case of anybody who has a Spotify account, your Google speaker will work very nicely, your smart speaker. And in the case of Alexa, the Apple Podcasts will probably be what it uses to go out, unless, of course, you have a Spotify account linked with your Amazon Echo device as well. So in either case, you can ask your smart speakers now to play the Outlook On Air podcast, and it will do that for you. So nice little addition and another way of getting out there and so forth. And, of course, you can always ask your phone, too. If you have an iPhone, you can ask Apple Podcast to play it. And if you have Spotify and an Android phone, that will work best there. So in either case, you've got some great ways to get our podcast and hear what we have to say. Well, folks, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this edition of Outlook On Air, but we certainly hope you've enjoyed the program. We hope to see you back here again for another edition of Outlook on Air. And if you'd like more information about Outlook Enrichment, or anything Outlook for that matter, make sure you visit our website at www.outlooken.org. That's www.outlooken.org. Or you can always call us for more information or to schedule any kind of an appointment at area code 531-365-5051. That's area code 531-365-5051. And don't forget to subscribe to our monthly newsletter so that you can find out when the next podcast is available. And we hope to see you then on the next edition of Outlook on Air.